The movie, The Terminal, is about a man named Viktor who travels to the United States from a small Eastern European country called Croatia. He arrives excited, curious, and ready to explore a new place, even though he barely speaks any English. But the moment he lands at the airport, something feels off. He's stopped by airport security and taken to immigration, confused about what's going on. That's when he meets Frank Dixon, the head of customs. Frank explains that while Viktor was on his flight, a political crisis broke out in his country. The government has completely collapsed, and now the United States no longer recognizes Croatia as a valid nation, which means Viktor's passport is useless. In simple terms, Viktor has just become a man without a country. Because of this, he can't enter the United States, but at the same time, he can't go back home either, since his country's borders are closed. So now, with nowhere else to go, Viktor is forced to stay inside the airport's international transit area indefinitely. At first, the airport staff give him food vouchers and a phone card, but Viktor struggles to understand how anything works. He can't communicate properly, and even simple tasks become difficult. Things quickly get worse when he accidentally loses his food vouchers and can't explain what happened. Now he has no food, no money, and no place to sleep. As night falls, Viktor wanders around the airport looking for somewhere to rest. Eventually, he finds an unfinished construction area where he tries to sleep on chairs, but it's uncomfortable and lonely. Meanwhile, Frank sees Viktor as a problem. With a promotion coming up, he wants everything to run perfectly, and Viktor is a complication he doesn't want. At one point, Frank even tries to trick Viktor into leaving the airport illegally so he can have him arrested. But Viktor senses something is wrong and refuses to step outside. With no other options, Viktor begins to adapt. He discovers that the airport gives small coins to people who return luggage carts, so he starts collecting carts all over the airport just to earn enough money to buy food. It's not much, but it's enough to survive. At the same time, Viktor begins teaching himself English using newspapers and books he finds around the airport. Slowly but surely, he starts to understand people, and people start to understand him. As days turn into weeks, Viktor begins forming friendships with airport workers. There's Enrique, a food service worker who makes a deal with Viktor. He'll give him free food if Viktor helps him talk to a woman he likes. There's also Gupta, a quiet janitor who keeps an eye on Viktor in his own strange way. And through these connections, Viktor slowly builds a small community around him. Then one day, Viktor meets a flight attendant named Amelia. At first, their conversations are awkward, but over time, they begin to connect. There's something genuine about Viktor that draws people in, including her. Eventually, Viktor gets an opportunity to help some construction workers fix a wall inside the airport. They're impressed by his skills and offer him a job. For the first time since arriving, Viktor starts earning real money. Now things begin to change. He's no longer just surviving, he's living. He fixes up his small space in the airport, eats proper meals, plays cards with his friends, and even builds meaningful relationships. At one point, he even sets up a romantic dinner for Amelia inside the airport, showing just how far he's come. But despite all of this, Frank is still determined to get rid of him. He tries multiple times to have Viktor removed, but nothing works. In fact, Viktor becomes so respected that the airport staff begin to support him. One day, Viktor proves just how kind he really is. A passenger is about to be deported for carrying medicine without proper documents. The man can't explain himself, and things are about to go very badly. But Viktor steps in. Using his improved English, he lies and says the medicine is for the man's sick pet, not for commercial use. The officers believe him, and the man is saved. From that moment on, Viktor earns the respect of nearly everyone in the airport. Then, after months of watching Viktor survive and adapt, we finally learned the real reason he came to America. It wasn't for a new life. It wasn't for money. It was for a promise. Victor's father was a huge fan of a famous jazz band. For over 40 years, he collected autographs from every member of the band, except one. Before he died, Victor promised that he would complete the collection. That's why he came to New York. That's why he endured everything. Finally, after months of waiting, the crisis in Crocozia comes to an end. The war is over, and Victor's passport becomes valid again. At last, he's free to leave. Amelia even helps him secure a temporary visa so he can enter the United States for 1 day. But Frank still isn't done. In one final attempt to stop him, he threatens Victor's friends, warning them not to help him or they'll lose their jobs. For a moment, it seems like Victor won't make it out. But then, something unexpected happens. Gupta, the quiet janitor, steps forward. He deliberately causes a security incident, distracting the authorities and giving Victor the chance to escape. It's his way of helping Victor and repaying his own past. As Victor walks toward the exit, something incredible happens. The airport workers, his friends, stand together, silently supporting him. After months of being trapped, Victor finally walks out of the airport. For the first time, he steps into New York City. He takes a taxi straight to a jazz club, finds the final musician from his father's favorite band, and gets the last autograph. Just like he promised. With that, Victor quietly leaves. No celebration, no drama, just a man who kept his word. And after everything he went through, his journey finally comes to an end.